Oh, literally and figuratively.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yinned out. I better move my yin. I guess so.
You're back.
I do.
For sure. Hello. Oh, your son? Oh my goodness. Okay, so we don't have enough bolsters for everybody, so we're just gonna share. If you didn't get them, I just tossed them around. If you didn't get a bolster, you need at least 2 blocks and a blanket. I can share if you want. I don't know the words out, Amanda.
Something happened today with you. You were the APD.
I know. You never know. You're back. What's your name? I visit. Oh, are you okay? Yeah. You know. Amanda? Yes. Amanda? Yes. What are you giving away today? I don't know.
Some announcement on 95 about you.
I've not seen this class is huge. I know. It's wonderful. Coming up to you. And we'll share props. Some of you might have a lot of props, some of you might not have enough. Oh, God. I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna come in the crib. Oh, will you just swing your hat around so we can have a circle? Yeah, they're good. Yeah, let's have a circle, it's fine. Manduka though, it's just a fancy Manduka. It's the same mat as yours. Oh, your pants are. You have an extra one of those? Yeah, we'll pass you mine. There's no one here. Oh, Jared, did you make it? I did. I put braces. Oh, you're not. I want to go to the beach. I know. I don't know. Let's go and be asked around. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, welcome. Let's start in Supta Konasana. So you're going to lie on your back with your feet together and your knees apart. So feet together, knees apart. I don't know if you want to take a little more space. I know you guys like each other. That's why I want a little more space. If you want more in your inner thighs, you can bring a bolster or block under your feet. If you want more in your upper body, you could grab opposite elbow above your head or just let your arms open out to a T, whatever feels comfortable. Just let this first pose help you settle in for a nice, quiet, meditative, restorative practice. Allow your breathing to become effortless. So unless you're feeling really challenged in the poses, your breath is as relaxed as possible. And if the poses are very confronting, which some of them will be today, then maybe you use your breath to help you stay in the present moment. One of the most difficult parts of this style yoga is to train our minds, to be still, to be gentle, to be present. So when things get quiet and I'm not giving you directions and there's no lyrics in the song and things get really still, notice where you start to drift. You're going to, we all do it. I pack for trips, I do my errands, I do all kinds of stuff in this room. It's crazy. But it's the exact definition of not being present, not being here in the now. So can you catch yourself when you do drift? Take a final breath here. Now, if you added arms, you might switch so the other elbow's on top, and you can bring your knees together and heel toe the feet apart. So I like the holster to hold your knees together. Try to let your knees rest in. So they're kind of leaning in towards one another and you don't really have to hold them up in any way. If you need more in your outer hips, just keep heel toeing your feet wider and wider apart. Take a final breath here. Release your arms, start to heel toe your feet closer together and hug your knees into your chest. You can just start to rock and roll on your back, giving yourself a little massage with the floor. Then circle out your knees, your ankles. If you're making circles, make sure you move in the opposite direction. And then rock yourself up and down the spine a few times. And come through to a tabletop. So we have a nice cushy floor, and most of you have those pretty thick mats. But if you feel like you still want some extra padding under your knees, you can always put a folded blanket under your knees. Spread through the fingertips. You're putting in the tabletop. So knees are under hips, wrists are under the shoulders. Curl your toes under. Inhale, drop your chest and look up. Exhale around, tuck the chin in. Press the tops of your feet down and spread through your shoulders. Inhale, curl the toes under, drop your chest. Exhale, round. Try to push the floor away. Pull your pubis bone towards your lower ribs. Take a final breath. Curl the toes under, drop your chest, look up. Try to open up your collarbone. Good. And exhale, round. Come into a neutral spine. Walk your knees, your feet together. Curl the toes under and sit back for a toe squat. Now, if this bothers your knees in any way, you can grab one of those bolsters or blocks and put it in between your heels and your hips. And if you're wearing socks, or even if you're not, just try to spread your toes. So sometimes our little pinky toes miss out on this stretch. You're trying to get into all 10 toes. Good. Just let your arms dangle. Okay. You can let your right ear drop towards your right shoulder. Just kind of let your arm hang so you're feeling that nice neck and shoulder stretch. use your right arm to gently lift your head up so you don't strain your neck. And then go right into the other side. Let your right arm really dangle. So you kind of feel that duality. Soften your jaw. Use your left hand to gently lift your head back up. Lean forward and tap on your toes. And make some noise. Come on. Lots of things going on. Good. Now keep the tops of your feet down and sit back. So the tendency, if you think of my feet, these are my heels. The tendency is that the heels splay apart. So try to keep your feet, your heels squeezing together. That way you feel way more through the shins and the ankles, right? Now this might be enough. Most days I don't feel much, so I have to elevate my knees to get maybe the same stretch that you already feel without lifting. So don't feel like you have to lift. There's just different levels and different moves. Some people just have to do a little more for the same stretch you may already feel. Good, just let your arms dangle, let your head hang, maybe feel a rounding in your spine. Notice any tension in your jaw, maybe even the skin around your eyes. Take one more breath here. Gently lift your head, remove any of those props. Lean forward and tap out your toes, circle out your ankles, anything that feels like a release for you. And then we're gonna sit back and bring your right foot forward and your left knee out. So this is called deer pose. Right knee forward, good, left knee out. You're somewhat into 90-degree angles with your legs. Now let me know if you have any knee trouble here. There's gonna be, so I offer lots of options because ultimately it's up to you to figure out where you feel relaxed, okay? So sometimes just sitting up can feel challenging, right? Because your body wants to lean to the right. So you might start to lean to the left, but that can feel like a lot of effort for some people. For me, I can stay pretty comfortable there, but I wasn't always like that, okay? So you might kind of lean over to the left. You might kind of lean your arms, your torso in between your legs. You may start to lean over towards your right leg. There's no right or wrong right now. I want you to kind of explore. So take a few minutes, to kind of see, what do I feel? Where does it feel the most beneficial for me this morning? And then see if you can relax into it. If you can't relax into it, back off a little and adjust so you can almost feel like you can take a nap here. Remember that this class, we don't want to be going 100% into a super deep stretch. If you're flexible, you're only doing about 50%. If you're not flexible, then you're kind of targeting more to that 70-80% of your actual max. So you're never trying to get 100% of your stretch. Why is that? Because we're trying to target our connective tissue, our muscle, not our muscles, not our tendons, but our fascia. your back rounded, your head heavy, slowly you just start to roll yourself up. Your legs are not going to change, just start to lean back. So you might want to prop a bolster under you, and you're going to be off your mat, so a little bit diagonal as you start to lean back. Now the prop or the bolster may be too low, so you can always just stay on your elbows if that feels best. But if you can try to relax into it a little more, I would move that block out from under your foot, yeah. Is it a knee thing or no? Okay. Yeah, and you might want the bolster under your spine. You might want it under your lower back. Yeah, try to bring your Kenya, bring your foot out a little more. Yeah, and your front foot forward a little more. Yeah, I think that's gonna be better for you. It looks like there's a bolster up for grabs if anybody doesn't have one and wants it. Oh, you're gonna use it? Okay, never mind. Now you might let your arms open out to a T. You might grab opposite elbow. Anything that feels comfortable. We're in our final minute here. Take your last 2 breaths. And as gently as possible, you'll start to crawl your way out. Maybe slide your legs straight first, whatever feels like a safe way for you to move. You'll slide your legs straight out, but keep your right foot somewhat in the circle so we're all turned towards the left for a straddle split. Nope, other way. Yeah. This way. There you go. Good. Now, if your feet are too wide, you're gonna feel more through your inner knees, and we want you to feel more through your groin. So if you feel it on your inner knees, just close your feet in more, so there's less of a range of motion. If you feel this might be enough, just sitting up straight, you can also like pull your own butt cheeks back, and that's gonna help just kind of tilt your pelvis a little bit. If you feel like your sitting bones are digging into the floor, blanket under your butt can be helpful. Or if you feel like you can't sit up, a blanket under the butt would be helpful. And you could start to fold forward. You could build a little ramp, so you're going in between your legs, not over your right leg. Yep, just straight in between the legs. You could build a little ramp if you have some props, put a block, then maybe a bolster on top of it, and maybe you can build it up high enough where you rest your torso onto that block or bolster. And if you don't have that available, just resting on your elbows is just as beneficial. You want to block that? Ooh. Sorry, that was a terrible throw.
Me up here. Saturated.
more breath. Start to walk your hands back in. Circle out your ankles, your neck, your shoulders. And you'll bend your right knee, should be the one that's in the center of the circle. You're still on the right side. Right shin is going to be somewhat parallel to the front edge of your mat, and your left leg is going to swing on top of it for double pigeon. Now this is a pretty deep hip opener, so you may want to lean your back against the wall to help you sit up. You could also sit on a bolster or a blanket to kind of help you, elevate your hips. But your left foot is on top of your right knee. Good. Now, if you're wearing socks, just take your top sock off for this one, and you'll use your right hand and literally cram your own fingers in between your toes. Use your other hand. Yeah. Yep, you got it. Now you might need to use the other hand and kind of like cram them in there. So the meaty part of your fingers are stretching out your toes. This actually helps bunions. Yeah, if it hurts, it's probably a sign you need it. Bring your bottom foot in closer towards your hips if you can, so it's more under your knee. Yeah. You feel this? Yeah. If you need more, some of you have pretty open hips in this position. If you feel like you need more, you can fold forward. But remember, you're not going for 100% because you're going to really regret going forward after we hold this for a few minutes. But hopefully, the first minute we're ever in the pose, we're fighting our own nervous system. We're trying to retrain ourselves to not freak out, right? Because our automatic nervous system just goes into protection mode. This hurts. I gotta get out. No, we've got to soften. And that's going to help, hopefully, you deal with things in a different way, not just on the other end. Now notice, even with the grip, are you squeezing your foot, or can you kind of relax into it? Your fingers just kind of stay in between your toes without so much effort, without all that tension. I had no idea how much I was tensing up till I started doing this style yoga. I was like, oh my gosh, I thought I was relaxed and I wasn't. It took me like an hour to finally relax. So just be patient in the process. Self-learn and gain exactly what you're ready for. Taking a mental body scan, notice. Can you soften something in your toes and your feet as you work your way up your ankles, into your knees and your hips, your torso, your shoulders, your neck, your jaw, your fingers, right? Just kind of constantly paying attention to what you could still let go of. There's always something in there. And only you can tell, really, if you're relaxed. These last two breaths, the most mindful, deepest breath so far this morning. release your fingers from your toes. You can lean back a bit and just slide your legs straight out in front. I know. It's an intense one. Just let your feet kind of jiggle and shake. Let everything just flop. And just fold into your legs. You might want to block under your head if you're that low. Remember, you've got different tiers. This is caterpillar. You're not trying to reach for your feet. You're not trying to get low. You're just letting your body like fall into place like a sack of potatoes. Let your lips fall away from your teeth. We want your face to be so relaxed you might even start to drool. Take a final breath here. Turn your palms down, keep your head heavy, and just start to roll yourself up. Shake out your neck, your ankles. Bring the hands behind your hips about a foot or two. Your fingertips will face your hips towards the center of the circle. Good. Bend the knees, feet are hip width apart, and lift your hips up. If it's okay on your neck, you can drop your head back. Then open your mouth, stick out your tongue, and release your jaw. Let it all go. Lion's breath. Yep. Again, inhale. Exhale. Good. Slowly lower your hips down. And the good news is, we got the other side. So left knee forward, right leg back. Switch your legs. Good, good. Okay. Now remember, this one is the one that you have a little more freedom to kind of explore and see what benefits you. So you might lean to the right, you might fold over your front leg, you might go in between or any of that. And just kind of explore. Not what you think, not what you see someone else doing, but really being honest with yourself and moving towards the sensation while still being able to relax. Your last few breaths here. Slowly start to lift yourself up. Now your legs aren't going to change, but your torso will. So you might want the blocks underneath your spine or the bolster, and we're going to start to lean back. You'll be off your mat a bit, kind of on a diagonal. Remember, you can always stop at your elbows. You're trying to keep your right knee down, but it might lift a little, but just try to keep relaxing it towards the floor. If you ever want, this is my little promotional segue. These are sandbags. So I filled this up with sand. I sell these. This is my company. So I have them in my truck if you want one after class. If you think you're going to want to keep coming, I would recommend it. It's just nice to be able to add some weight on certain poses like this. So they're $25. And they come empty, so you can fill them up with anything you want. Put the towel as your foot. Can't get my leg. Then move it out, like off your mat, and kind of out more, like take up more space. Yeah, yeah. Does that feel better? You might want the bolster under your back. I would put it right under your spine. Better? Yeah. Just do a few more breaths here. Slowly start to crawl out of it. Remember, you can slide your legs straight on that transition if that feels safer for you. And just pulling your legs straight out. Your left leg will be somewhat in the center of the circle. And just flop everything. So we're going back into straddle. Now, for me, that was like very beneficial this morning. That felt like the perfect place. I'm going to do it again. But you could do frog as an alternative if you want. Frog is this one, if you're not sure. So you would stay on your knees and just slide your knees apart. Still groin, just different. I would put the bolster under your chest. Maybe even the blocks under the bolster, so you can kind of relax into it. Like you would build it up, you know, to be able to rest your chest. And turn the other way, Mary. Yeah, so that your knees can stay on the line, on the mat. And then instead of letting your hips fall back, stay forward. So let your torso come towards down. Yeah, that was too much. Too much. Now bring your hips back more. This way? Yeah, your whole body back. There you go, right there. Now, no, go back. Right there. Now, you're not gonna fall forward. So maybe you'll just bring your knees apart. And the bolster might be too low. So you might need a block under the bolster. Or maybe you don't even touch it today. Do you feel a stretch? Final breath here. Start to walk your hands back in. You can just kind of draw your legs together. You need to shake them out, do what you got to do. We're going into our final hip opener, double pigeon on the left or the right side. So your left knee is going to be forward, shin parallel to the center of the circle, and your right shin on top. Now you'll slip your top sock off if you're wearing one. Use your left hand and spread fingers in between your toes. Switch your legs. Get tighter and tighter. Might be too much. Can you try to get the top foot up over your bottom knee? Yes. More. Right now you're like this. You feel it.
This leg isn't in shape.
You don't feel it in your knee though, right? You're feeling it in your hips. Try sitting on the pool. It helps. Yeah. Chest. Yeah.
I keep sticking to this. No.
Bottom foot. Yes. You're still like this. Yes. Corner. Let your calm, steady breath help you relax into this. Keep being mindful that we don't want to shift the tension out of the hips into our shoulders or our jaw, right? We want to let it go. So keep being so mindful of what you can still let go of here. We're here for 2 more breaths. Very gently unplug those fingers. Just lean back and let your legs slide straight. just let everything shake and jiggle. Okay, now you'll set up a back bend. So you could have the bolster right under your spine. You could have your back on the floor and a block under your butt cheeks. Anything else? But I would say those are the two main ones that I prefer. So to explain a little more, if you're not sure, the bolster under the spine is going to be a little more of a chest and shoulder opener. The block under the butt cheeks is going to be more of like a hip flexor release, more lower back. Yeah, I like the block right under the butt cheeks, but you can do it under your shoulders too, or under your back. I would bring it lower. Yeah, lower, lower, lower. Bring it lower. How does that feel? Does that feel okay? I don't think it looks comfortable. Bring it that like right under your butt cheeks. Oh, your shoulders? Well, then do something completely different. Now this is your final pose. So I'm not going to time this one. You can decide when you want to come out anytime you wish. But we are going to do a final meditation. This is kind of the beginning of the meditation. So whenever you feel like you've had enough of that back bend, you can just slide your props out from under you and have a nice straight flat back for your final shavasana. As you hang here, you might just observe the natural curl of your fingertips. Let your jaw hang open. Allow your tongue to peel off the roof of your mouth and completely relax. If you still have some props under you, you might want to move them just so you can get your last few breaths in a complete meditative shavasana. Without being in any rush, just start to deepen your breathing as you twinkle your fingers and twinkle your toes. Rock your head side to side. Reachable over the head, just like a good morning stretch. Knowing you got rid of any of that stress and tension that you may have woken up with. You can hug your knees in, rock and roll a few times. Come up to a comfortable seated position when you're ready. Place the hands to heart center. You notice the shift in how you feel. Not just physically, but mentally and energetically. May we remember to take more moments like this to hit that pause button, to detach ourselves from what the world is trying to tell us, and to stay grounded in what we know to be true. I thank all of you for seeing the value in this style of yoga, for trying something new, or for staying committed to your own health and your happiness. Have a wonderful day. God bless. Namaste. You're welcome. Thank you, everybody. You're welcome. I know a lot of you may have gone to a prior class, so just make sure the desk has you signed in if you wouldn't mind, if you haven't done that before class. Next week I'll be out of town. I don't know who's coming, but there'll still be class. It just won't be me. And then the following week is Thanksgiving. Again, there'll still be class, but I won't be there. So I'll see you in a few weeks. If you're interested in traveling with me, I'm going on retreats. That's where I'll be. I do lots of retreats throughout the year. Next year I have Machu Picchu in April, Glacier National Park in June, Coast of Maine in July, and a bunch of others, but those are the closest ones. You can find all my info on flowyo.com. Flowyo, FLOWYO.com. Yeah, that's my company.
Is that you?
That's me, yeah.
Thanks.